cops on me. On a mission to get champs since they let me free.
Prepare for combat, my adversaries crumble. Face it, I got a reputation for damage. Busters get ready to rumble. They lock me in a cell, have me trapped in a living hell. Though not guilty, I'm still in jail. Brother, I serve my time like a soldier. Maintain composure. My shadow boxing a fight to the death, busting boulders. Every boxer with a pair of gloves. Best give up love. Here's a man from the makings of a thug. A lethal weapon, mind sharp. And in my heart, there's a wish to shake the world with the flurry of my black fist. Now once a high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out? Straight out of...
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Cheap Seats Box Show. Angelo here with a friend from a different show. This, you know what it's like? This is going to be like when Hulk Hogan and Macho Man got together. The mega powers, man. That's what it's going to be like. Vince Cummings from Tail of the Tape. What's going on, brother?
Brother Angelo, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Glad to be a part of your show. Dude, I've been listening to your show since we started our podcast. I'd probably say like a year after that. And you guys do good work. And I just appreciate the opportunity to have me on here, man.
Hey, you know I love hearing the kind words, man. You know, and you know I've been listening to you guys, obviously, because we've been going back and forth on Twitter. You know, people never see it because we're usually just DMing each other. But, man, we've been... Man, I just appreciate you guys. I like the work that you guys do. I figured, you know what, a little cross promotion. But for our show, follow us on Twitter, Cheap Seats Box, iTunes, Stitcher, rate, review, and subscribe, people. You know it helps us move up. We're number 4. You search boxing on iTunes. All it does is keep us visible, and that's all we want. To more people to come in and listen. Vin, tell them where to hit you on Twitter and the show.
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter at Vince Cummings 81. You can catch the Tail of the Tape podcast. We're on Stitcher. We're on YouTube. We're starting to put out short videos now. Get to the at Boxing Rant on Twitter, and you can find all the videos, all the shows we post. We're trying to get as much material out there as we can because, hey, man, just like you, we're trying to be the good guys in boxing.
Yeah, that's what it is too. It's tough, man. It's a tough thing. Especially when boxing gives you what it gives you. But you know, if you listen to my last show individually, I was talking about PBC is about to make its final stand. I knew it was coming, man. We knew that they were starting to leak out the shows. You know, this is what we're going to have on this show and this show. I knew the fights were going to start coming out, and they did it. They dropped a ton of fights out there. We'll see if they all come to fruition. But I mean, you know, starting in December all the way through March, they got a list of, you know, pretty good fights, man. And that's the thing I said. Even if this is PBC's last stand, and I have my issues with PBC, and I know if anybody and everybody who's listened to your guys' show, they know, hey, you got your thing with PBC as well. And it's never PBC. It's the promise that they made. It's the fights that they've delivered. And what they are starting to line up is kind of what we've been hoping for from the PBC. Just a lot of good fights. And on paper, everything looks good, man. And hopefully everything works out. I just wish they didn't take so long, to come together. But, Vin, what do you think, man, when PBC released that schedule and, you know, you got the list of fights?
Look, man, it was a familiar feeling. It was that same feeling when the PBC launched. And, you know, when they launched and they announced, you had Thurman and Guerrero, and it just Broner and Molina, and you had the big cards announced, Garcia, Peterson, and you're like, all right, hey, damn, man, they're going to deliver. And, you know, the same thing happened with this, and I keep telling myself, like, dude, don't get too, you know, yes, they are doing the right thing by making the fights that they're making. I mean, they loaded the front 3 months of next year with solid fights. But what are they going to do with the rest of it? You know, like the past leads me to believe that this is all smoke and mirrors to more of the same. I mean, I think they announced, 63 shows?
Yeah.
Next year? That is, how do you fill all of those cards, and especially with quality, and especially with guys that are used to fighting once and twice a year? All of a sudden, is everybody going to get more active? Is everybody going to get on the bandwagon and, you know, to save the PBC bandwagon, and Al's going to get guys to fight 3 times a year now? I have a hard time seeing it. But I'll tell you what, I will applaud them for doing what they did, because you've listened to my show, and anybody that has, I do. We go hard on the PBC because they had an opportunity, and they really fucking botched it big time, man. Now, maybe they can save it, but we'll see. I'm gonna watch this first 3 months of next year, the end of this year, and we'll take it from there. I'm not going to get all excited and say PBC's back and boxing's going to be saved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like you figure the December show is going to go Cuellar, Mares, Charlo Williams. Those are, Charlo Williams, I'm happy with that one. I mean, you're getting two of the best 154 fighters. You can't ask for more than that. I figured that one's going to go through. You figure Frampton Santa Cruz 2 is going to go through because they fought before. And Garcia and Slatikanen are on that undercard. Great cards. After that, I know Jack and DeGale are supposed to fight January 14th, but, man, they fought in April, which was supposed to lead to this fight, and it's going to take, 9 months. So you still have to, even though you like what you see, there still has to be some hesitancy to be getting too excited. Like, when they're in the ring, I'm going to be happy. Until then, I'm still going to have a little bit of hesitation and, a little bit, not doubt, but you're like, I won't be surprised if something happens and something gets pushed back.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, dude, the past speaks for itself. I hate to say it, and I hate to sound like a cynic, and I always feel like when I'm talking about the PBC, like, dude, don't sound like such a cynic. But I'm sorry, that's what they've done. That's the state of mind that they put a lot of boxing fans in. I'll be the first to applaud them when they make the right moves, and all of these fights are solid as hell. I mean, dude, the Frampton Santa Cruz, Zlatikanen and Garcia card, that's a card that I'm thinking about traveling to Vegas for. That's how hype I am for that card. Those are both going to be unbelievable matchups. Mm-hmm. And Badou, Jack, James DeGale, that's the two best right now at 168. And of course, this fight gets announced, and who's James DeGale start talking about? He's all of a sudden Triple G's coming out. He's uttering the Triple G. I think I might be the man at 168 to take out Triple G. It's like unbelievable, man. Yeah. Just to sell a fight, everybody dropping his name.
Well, it's easy. It's so much easier to say you want to fight him to actually fight him, as we've seen over the past few years of all the people who want to put his name in their mouth, but have really rarely ever wanted to step in the ring with him. The Jack DeGale fight. I mean, I'm excited for it. But then there's also a little bit of a letdown because you've waited so long. This was supposed to happen, I want to say, in September. And here it is going to be January. So it's like, okay, I mean, this is one of the things I always say is like PBC, when they get ready, a fight starts, you hear this so often. Coming off the longest layoff of his career, and you get it all the time. And so what you get is the fights sometimes don't live up to what they should because everybody's a little rusty. It takes them a few rounds to get going, or maybe they just are totally lost for the whole fight. That's the biggest. That's the biggest complaint is inactivity.
Yeah, that's everybody's problem in the PBC. And look, it's what killed all of these guys' momentum. I mean, guys like Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia. Now, Danny Garcia's momentum was beginning to slow when the PBC started, but Thurman had so much momentum going on Showtime, and they were building something. And then all of a sudden, he gets into the PBC, and it comes to a screeching halt. And what could have been what you think could have been a much better career to this point, and I'll be the first to say, look, Thurman's made money. My man has gotten paid. I'll give him that. But where he stands at sport, it's just he could be in a much better spot than he is now. And Garcia, I mean, dude, Danny Garcia, the most frustrating fighter in boxing. He acts like because he in 1 year he beat Amir Khan and Lucas Matisse that he gets a bye for the rest of his life. Like I beat two monsters. I don't have to do that again.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, we've come to find out later that neither one of those guys is really what we thought they were at that time. It's all of these guys. J-Rock, I mean, another guy that's like, how long has he been trying to get this fight with Charlo? And you hear no complaints from him. And it's like, how would you not be completely frustrated with the fact that you have been trying to get all of these guys at 154 pounds in the ring. And when you do become a mandatory, it still takes 9 months to make the fight happen. I mean, just hopefully they've learned their lesson. You know, this announcement of all these fights will make you think for a second that maybe they have, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself.
Yeah, you know the one fight that they put on the schedule, of course, Garcia and Thurman's on there for March 4th. I'll believe that when I see it. That'll happen sometime in May, I'm sure. Broner and Adrian Granados. And I was like, that kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, man, if the Adrian now he's been really inactive since he had the upset win over Amir Imam, but if that Granados shows up, man, he beats the shit out of Broner. There's just no way around that.
I completely agree. I think that's a fucking scary fight for Broner. I can't believe they're making that fight. You know, we can't. Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that Granados that we saw against Imam is the guy that we've seen in all of his previous fights. But if that guy shows up, I mean, dude, that's a little mini Maidana there. He will destroy Broner.
Yeah, and you remember the Imam fight. Imam looked like he was just going to overwhelm him, and it was like after about 3 rounds, you could see that Imam was like, "Oh shit, this guy's he's here.
Yeah.
He's here for the long run." And we know the way that Broner seems to be going in and out of shape, man. That's a bad recipe. If this guy's a wear you down throughout the fight kind of fighter that we saw against Imam, he's going to be in trouble, man. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy than Adrian Broner. You know, let's just be honest.
Yep. Yeah. You think this fight ends up at 140, or you think Broner pushes it up 142, 143?
That will not shock me. I would not be shocked at the weight that he had against Porter at 144. That would not shock me. Or even because look, hate him or love him, and most people hate him. He is in a position of power because he draws ratings and he draws fans. If they put this in Cincinnati, he's going to sell close to 10,000 tickets. So he's in a power position. So if he ain't making weight, he just call up Al and say, "Hey, we're going to do this at 145 or 147." He's going to get his way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, everybody loves a train wreck, right?
Exactly. That's why we all love John Daly. So, and this leaked out a few days ago. I guess didn't leak out. It actually came up. Vanas Martirosyan being the first to finally call out Al and say, "Hey, I'm too inactive. You and my promoter or my manager haven't been doing the job. You guys are holding me back." It's funny because we know that your inactivity can only get stretched out even more, but maybe Vanas opens the door for other people to maybe not publicly but privately put pressure on Al, like, look, you better start giving us a little bit more activity, because the class action lawsuit is always an option when you have that many fighters, and if enough of them aren't happy, that
right.
So that it's kind of, I want to see how this thing plays out, but it was just shocking because, you listen to Steve Kim, and he said he's seen the contracts with Al Heyman, and it says in there you are not allowed to talk bad about Al Heyman. So this is going to
that's insane.
It is insane because if you think he's an advisor supposedly, yet he has right of refusal for fights, and he can put you on the back burner forever, which is you're just an advisor. I mean, that's something that your promoter or your manager is supposed to be able to do to you, but not your quote unquote advisor. And maybe that's how Vanas can get around it. Like, well, if you really want to push us out, then we're going to go ahead and we'll push the Ali Act and all that stuff and take this to court. And we know Al does not like being in any kind of spotlight. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this, if there's anything that plays out from this, or this is just it. This is all you hear from it.
I got a feeling that Vanas is going to cower back in the corner and act like he never tweeted any of that, because it's just funny to me. It seems like all the guys that are under Heyman control, they seem to be like fucking hypnotized. I can't. You wish fighters would speak up, and I'm glad Vanas did say something. I mean, you're talking about a guy that doesn't make that much money and makes $150K a fight. Only fought one time this year. Dude's probably hurting for some scratch. He just wants to get in the ring and get paid. And I think with a lot of these guys, even when you were talking about a class action, lawsuit with all the fighters. There's got to be more than a handful of guys just like Vanas, those, fringe, the B-level, fringe, A-level fighter that were promised fights and numbers of fights and amounts of money that they would make over these whatever years of their contract. And it just wouldn't seem like any of that has been met to this point with as many times as these guys fight. I mean, you can't tell me that Vanas Martirosyan signed a contract with Al Heyman to fight only one time a year. You can't make a living that way. Not a guy like him. So yeah, look, I'd be, they ought to get together and they ought to do that. If there's that many of them that are pissed off, the Sean Porters, which I think he's definitely one of them, and just scared to say something, because that's a man that's been just kind of treated like the redheaded stepchild. Like, he just offers him up to all of his, all Al's favorites. They all get, oh, you need a big name, I'll get you Porter. It's just, I can't imagine that guys aren't in the same position as Vanas. Hopefully they speak up, but I doubt they will.
Yeah, I know. It's like, if only they could stay as active as Robert Guerrero. For whatever reason, that guy he's never hurting for fights. He always seems to be able to get on whenever he wants.
I always say, man, if there's one fighter in the PBC that has cashed out from that move, it is Robert Guerrero. My man has made like $4+ million, $5 million maybe, in the 6 fights he's been in. He would have never made that anywhere else.
And that money will go far in Gilroy. He can buy a lot of garlic over there, the garlic capital of the United States.
Right.
Oh man, I don't know if you saw this, man, but Demetrius Andrade, they had that, was it the vacant title fight with Colque, that Jack Colque he's supposed to fight on November 5th?
Yeah.
And literally today he tweets out, I signed my contract, still waiting for Jack to sign on the other side. It's like, God damn, you guys are fighting next weekend. How the hell are you not signing these contracts? What the fuck is going on?
That is fucking insane, man. I mean, look, you want to say you're shocked in this sport, but honestly, after some of the shit we've just heard with all, the Joshua Klitschko shit and the Fury shit, it's like, you know what? I can't act shocked. It's like, how is this fight announced? People have probably, it just makes no fucking sense, man. And it's, what cracks me up even more is about that fight is Andre going after Jack Colque and trying to get a WBA regular belt and claim that he's a champion. Like, that's going to give him leverage to get other guys in the ring. It's like, this is a meaningless fucking fight. I don't know why you're going over there to knock out a guy you're going to knock out in 5 rounds anyway. I know you want to get paid, and that's fine, but it just makes no sense. And nobody over here is going to watch that fight. So how are you building the Boo Boo Andrade brand fighting in Germany against Jack Colque that nobody fucking knows about? Nobody will be able to see the fight unless they try and stream it. It just makes no sense.
No. I know 2 losers who will be watching it, and you're actually listening to them right now.
You got that right, but I will be watching.
Yeah, and the thing is, I like Andrade. I actually like him, man. I think he's trouble for anybody at 154. But he'll fight this fight, and he won't fight again for 9-10 months, and he'll be. Who's the WBA champ? Who is that? Is that I'm trying to go off the top of my head. I want to say that's Erislandy Lara. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
So then what? You're going to fight in front of 300 people if you're lucky?
On the beach in Miami.
Oh, that was a sight. But it's just a crazy thing, man. I mean, like you're saying, boxing and it'll leave you scratching your head, and you're like, nobody's gonna watch it, and there we are, like, oh, here's the stream. I found the stream. It's up now. Let me go ahead and watch this Andrade Colque fight that I know exactly how it's going to end, even if I didn't hear anything on Twitter. I'm sure Twitter will be blowing up from that fight.
Oh yeah.
But like you were saying, the heavyweight thing. I mean, I went through this. You guys have went through this, but just the musical chairs going, and I almost called this, man. With Vlad pulling out of his fight already with an injury, I'm like, this is who Vlad is, and he's always gotten a pass for it. He's made people wait. He's pulled the injury bug. He's pulling again. He did it with Fury the first time. He did it with I can't remember the guy before that. He did it with before the oh God, what was the fight before that? That The one in
Jennings fight?
Yeah, the Jennings. Before the Jennings fight, he pulled it with that guy. I mean, he's doing this all the time. And it's like, I don't understand, Vlad, because you're trying to get back on top of the mountain. And instead of taking one or two options, which were tough options in Joshua or Parker, which he could have picked whichever one he wanted. He can say, no, I'm number 2. It's not going to be Andy Ruiz. It's going to be me against Joseph Parker. Or he can say, yeah, I'll just fight just for the IBF. I don't need the WBA. For whatever reason, he was stuck on that WBA, and it seemed like, oh, well, there's the easy mark in Brown, and I'm going to take him on. And it's just like, and now all of a sudden he's pulling out. He's not going to fight till next year. And it's like, man, all these guys at the heavyweight division, they could so make a name for themselves, but right now they're happy taking the easiest road. Like, I'll get my title and I'll keep my title and maybe we'll meet down the road for bigger money, but man, you could just set yourself up for bigger and better money by taking on the toughest competition. You know, say Parker and Joshua get together and they're young undefeated fighters. So what if Joshua wins or Parker wins? That loss ain't going to kill you. It didn't kill, say, a guy like James DeGale when he lost his fight early on in his career against Groves. You know, so
No,
I don't
no.
understand why they're so scared of that, of losing that O. I just don't get it.
Yeah, look, guys, and I feel like the biggest thing with Klitschko in that situation was like, he's been a guy that was on top for, a decade?
Yeah.
He always got his way. You know, every little aspect of the fight, the ring, the judges, the ref. And now I think he kind of lost that coming into these negotiations, and I don't think he liked it. So he was like, you know what? You ain't going to tell me what to do. I'm still the man. I'm sure he believes that, you know, if there was a rematch between him and Fury, in his mind, that he's going to win, and still thinks he's the best heavyweight in the world. And I don't blame him. I still think if there was a Klitschko-Joshua fight or a Klitschko-Wilder fight or a Klitschko-Parker fight, you know, if you ask me to pick the winner of that fight, I'm going to pick Klitschko. But he's just a guy that we've seen it with Mayweather. We're still getting Pacquiao in 2 weeks. Like, it's just, dude, thank you for your time, but exit fucking stage left, please, because we've had enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to be honest, man. I would take both of those guys. I would take Parker and Joshua against Klitschko. I think he's on the downside. I think he knows it, and I think that's why he went the Lucas Brown route. He's like, I can get a title, and then I can get into a power position negotiations, and I can maximize the money. I don't know how much more he's going to maximize it when the numbers were coming out, how much they might have got for the Joshua fight. I think it was like $45 million combined. I mean, I don't know how he's going to. I don't know how he's going to do any better than that. But
no, but he'll get paid handsomely. Over there in Germany, they take care of their man.
Yeah, they do. That's a. I think I'm gonna retire from my job and just go over there and start fighting as a cruiserweight, man. I mean, Jesus Christ! Just so you know, I was born there and I got citizenship there, so I think I should just do that as my second career. I can go Bernard Hopkins fight till I'm 52, and run the cruiserweight circuit in Germany, make some good money, man.
Hey, go find you Felix Thurm and Arthur Abraham, man. They're good for a few more years.
Yeah, well, Abraham just hurt his elbow. He's out of the Martin fight. He's already on it. I think he might have heard the rumors that I was going to come out of retirement and do that, man. I don't know. I think it scared him right away, man.
I think I heard did he get an offer at a elimination? I believe he got an eliminator fight. That's why he backed out. I can't remember who he's fighting.
It's supposed
but
to be.
I think he's already got another fight lined up. He backed out of the Murray fight.
Yeah,
because he's got an eliminator fight. I can't remember against who.
Oh, good lord! Hey, another great fighter that is coming back. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is coming back. Yeah. Next month, man.
Yeah, fucking 17 months off, huh? Dude, I mean, look, I thought Fonfara like ended his career. I was like, you know what? That was perfect. You got your ass whooped. You got fat. You stepped in the ring against a big dude and got destroyed. Thank you. See you later. No, look. Who knows what his plans are? Can this guy make fucking weight? What weight is he going to fight at?
Oh, I'm sure he's in tremendous shape. I'm sure if you follow him on Twitter or Instagram, he's probably tweeting out pictures of him training right as we speak. You know, that's who he is. He's a gym rat. Just ask him on Twitter. Yet he'll still come in 15 pounds overweight.
No, man. It's constantly. It's like, dude, we know damn well you ain't doing shit. Cut that shit out.
You saw Terry Flanagan and signed a fight on Orlando Cruz for his belt, for Flanagan's belt. That's who he's defending against. Last time I remember seeing Orlando Cruz was against Orlando Salido, right after Cruz came out as the first openly gay boxer. But I like Flanagan, but I don't know what this fight proves, man. I mean,
it's just another. This goes for all. You know, the UK had a big year in boxing early, and they won a lot of belts, and they had a lot of champions coming into this year, and they've had a great 2-year run in the sport. But man, when almost all of those guys got their belts, they fucking sat on it, dude. I mean, they squatted on it against bums, and you think we got it bad in this country, and you know we have a big UK listener base to our show, and I'm constantly in contact with these guys. I mean, you wouldn't believe those guys they throw so much hate around at fights like this over there in that country, and you know it's a shame because look, Flanagan's a good fighter, but I think against most of the guys in that division, he's probably legitimately the 4th or 5th best fighter in that division. So for him to have a belt, he knows he's got to hold on to it and make as much money as he can. Because as soon as he gets mandated or forced into a fight, he's going to lose.
I think that's why the UK fans, they were so in love with the Anthony Crawler story because he got his title and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go in there against Beast. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know Flanagan was watching the Crawler fight. I'm blanking on the fight he just had. Jorge Linares, and you know Flanagan's watching that fight like, oh shit, there goes all the fucking money I could have made against him. We could have had a huge fight. You know he's like, because there ain't no way in hell I'm fighting Linares. He'll box the shit out of me. So,
oh yeah.
But you know,
I mean, he missed out on a big unification fight.
Exactly, and a big domestic fight, a big money fight. He was watching Crawler get beaten, being like, God damn, there goes all that shit I had been holding on this title for, was to cash out, and there it goes, man.
Hey, but you know what? Crawler and Flanagan will fight, whether they have belts or not. Let's say it's a year from now and Flanagan loses his belts. Those two will fight at some point in the UK on pay-per-view and pack a 14,000-seat arena over there. That's how the sport of boxing over there, just they have a casual fan base that just eats that shit up, man.
Absolutely. You know, it will be a huge fight. The people will sell it out, and they'll be going crazy like they always do. That's the one thing about watching a stream. Anytime I watch a stream, I always want the UK. I want the UK announcers, I want the full crowd involved. I don't want that dubbed over shit that we do here in the States, where HBO will dub over their voices and everything like that, and you kind of hear the crowd drowned out a little bit. I love getting that. I love getting that whole environment there in the UK. The title, the unification, well, that would have mean a couple more numbers on the end of them zeros. Maybe that's a couple more million combined for them. But it'll still be a big fight. But I don't know. Fighting Orlando Cruz, I don't know what. It is just another guy holding on to his title. Like I was saying, when we were talking about the beginning too, was these fights that this is going to be great, and then it gets pulled back. I mean, the punch in the gut when Orlando Salido had to pull out of the Takashi Miura fight. I mean, that was a gut punch. And let's be honest. Salido pulling out of that fight in the most Mexican of ways. He was doing construction on his house and he hurt his back like an old man. He's an old Mexican dude, man. That's what he does. That was the most old man Mexican move ever. Trust me, I've done it.
I heard it and I was like, you got to be shitting me, dude. Like, you can't. Why are you doing that? And I'm like, you know what? Never mind. That shit is in his blood. That motherfucker he was born to be doing that, so he's fucking let him go. It's just like, who did it back in the day? At least the white boys can claim one guy got hurt back in the day doing his driveway, Larry Bird.
That's right. He was never the same after that. He was never the same after that.
hopefully Salito's all right, man. Because an old guy, back injury. He's always been, for the last year. You've been waiting for that fight where he's going to fall off the cliff.
Yeah, I know.
You hope this injury doesn't push him over it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. I mean, he's been a pro for 19 years, 20 years, something like that. I mean,
yeah.
And people got to remember where he was. Most of his career was down in the 120s, man. He's a small guy, and for the age of 35, I mean, that's ancient in those smaller weight classes, man. And those back injuries, man, they're tough, man. They just don't go away, especially when you start getting into your mid 30s, late 30s, and early 40s, man. Trust me, I know, man. That shit is a killer.
Tell me about it. I'm the same way, man.
Oh man, that, like I said, gut punch, man. That was one of the ones I was really looking forward to, man. I don't know if you saw it. I know people wanted this fight on the televised part of Ward and Kovalev was Curtis Stevens and James De La Rosa. Everybody, anytime you can see Curtis Stevens, everybody's always like, hey, put that shit on TV, man. People will watch it. I guess Main Event and Rock Nation couldn't come together, putting a fight with each one of their guys, so they put the next best fight overall onto the televised portion. And Curtis Stevens, I mean, coming off the upset win of Teixeira, he'll probably handle De La Rosa. But there's a guy, man, you got to love a guy like Curtis Stevens because he ain't afraid of nobody. He got his ass beat by Triple G, and he's like, I want another piece of that. When we can't even get guys to just step in the ring with them one time. Curtis Stevens is like, fuck it, I'll get my ass kicked again. I think I can beat his ass this time. You gotta love a guy like Curtis Stevens.
Show me the money.
Exactly, you gotta love a guy like Curtis Stevens. He's like, shit, it's worth it. I'll take it. I don't care, man.
To steal a line from your boy JP last night, I mean, he's flawed, but the man is so much fun to watch. That's why his fights are always entertaining. Everybody is like, you know what? Stevens is fighting. It doesn't matter who he's fighting. The dude brings it every time.
Yeah, he's got that James Kirkland about him. I don't give a shit who they're fighting. Sign me up to watch it because it's gonna end. It's gonna end badly for somebody. You know that.
Oh, it's gonna be violent.
Speaking of ending badly, there's a good segue. Well, I don't do that very often. I don't segue very often. Juanma Lopez fighting this weekend. There's your action for this weekend against was it Vasquez Jr. What the fuck?
I looked on my Fight TV app and saw it. Now it's $30, and I'm thinking to myself, "You dumb motherfucker! You actually thought for a second to buy that fight."
You sure? I know you did. You're like, oh, you're like an addict. Like, oh man, just a taste, baby, just a taste.
Don't do it. Turn up to look away.
I don't know what it's gonna take for Juanma not to fight anymore, man. Because obviously this is the only thing he knows. But, I mean, this is not going to end well for him, man. The way he's been getting knocked out, and it seems like he's kind of went Amir Khan and like, all you got to do is touch a chin and he's gone, man. You know, this is a guy just lining up to be speaking like James Toney one day, man. And he's a young guy still. He's not even an old guy. But he's taken so many beatings early on. I mean, I think I heard was it 5 of his last 9 fights he's lost, and it was they were all by knockout. I mean, 5 knockouts in your last 9 fights, getting knocked out that many times, that's just not good.
No, he's just one of them guys where you're like, man, you know what? He gave you all he had. You know, for his flaws, he never really made it to where everybody thought he was going to get. We never got that Juanma Gamboa fight that was like built up for 2 or 3 years and was going to be the biggest fight in boxing if it got made. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just. You know, you feel bad for him. Like, I see it, and I know he needs the money, and, you know, I make your money, man. Do what you got to do, but, damn, you are paying a serious price in the later years of your life, man. And I hate to see fighters, you know, when that happens to fighters, man, that shit's sad.
Yeah, it's just, you know, you're talking about Gamboa. That was one of the fights, and then I remember when he signed to fight Brandon Rios, man. I was so looking forward to that fight. Man, Gamboa was just one of those guys. Just another head case, man. That's a Cuban trait, man. I swear to God, man. Head cases. I don't know why. It just is, man.
Oh. Hey, it's that communist upbringing, man.
They want 50-50 on every fight purse. No, I was going through. I want to get you on the record here because of course, like your show and like my show, there's not some people have never heard of you. Some people hopefully are listening to this show because you're on it from the people who listen to your show. So let's get a little back and forth here. Who do you think that three things? Who do you think Joshua's going to end up fighting? Do you think it's going to end up being David Price?
I'm going to say it's looking like Molina now. It's seriously pointing towards Eric Molina, and I think I'm going to throw a dark horse out there real quick, and that's going to be Antonio Tarver. I would not be surprised if he snuck in there somehow.
Oh my God! Don't because
And how terrible would that be?
Well, thank God it's an IBF. It would be an IBF title fight. That way, Vada wouldn't be involved. They wouldn't have to be involved. Thank God it's not for the WBC title because we know if Tarver ain't got enough time to train properly, we know which way he's going to go in his training methods. Man, Josh.
Let's hope not.
I know. I'm a huge Joshua fan, man, but that Eddie Hearn, boy, I tell you, that is a bait and switch motherfucker.
He knows how to play the game, don't he?
He does, man. He does. And I can't believe that they sell the type of pay-per-view numbers they sell over there with his fights, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, we wish or somebody in America wishes they had what Joshua had, because to me right now, that man's the biggest. I mean, we have Canelo here, and Canelo does make more money per fight, but as far as buzz goes for when a fight happens, the Joshua fight's the biggest in the world right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the kind of money that Canelo makes per fight, because I bet you they're pretty freaking close, because Joshua was up in the 8 figures the last fight, and I know Canelo was, even the Cotto fight he only made $5 million. I'm sure.
Right, I did see his last. I think it was with the commission. His last, they said he was $3.5 million or $3 million. I was like, damn, that's it. But I know he's getting some on the back.
Yeah, and I know he made some good money for the Khan fight, because Khan made a shitload of money. So I know he made some good money on that. But I mean, right. Joshua was right there, man. He's making, and they were talking about $20 million plus per him and Klitschko. I mean, that's the kind of money he's starting to bring in, and that's without any U.S. money really flowing in. Like he comes over here and he's selling pay-per-views over here, and then you can imagine how big, because we UK don't like to hear it all the time, but this is the main stage, and
oh yeah.
And so if he comes here and he gets an even wider audience, it don't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're still going to stay up on the UK, and they're still going to go in droves to watch his fight, man.
If I'm Joshua and I'm Hearn, I want to come to the U.S. for the first time to fight, and I want it to be in New York City against Deontay Wilder in a unification fight, because I think by the time that fight comes off, he will. Even right now, I think he probably wins that fight, and that'll make him a star here as well. So it's only going to go up for my man. It's just a matter of
mm-hmm.
Are we going to get this? Are we going to get these bullshit fights? How long is this going to go on with him? Hopefully, Hearn, stops playing the game and starts getting some real fights for him.
Yeah. What do you expect to see from Manny Pacquiao in about a week and a half?
I don't know, man. He looked. I want to say he looked good in his last fight, but it's not the same Pacquiao, and it's just one of them things where I feel like he's out here. He's going to try to put on a performance against Vargas that's going to somehow stir up the fucking Mayweather conversation again. And if that's the case, then I could care less, man. I'd have no desire to see that fight again. And I love Manny. Manny's one of my 5 favorite fighters of the last decade, but it's just time for him to move on, man. There's nothing more for you to prove. I don't want to see you lose to a guy like Jesse Vargas, because you're way better than that. But it is what it is. I'm gonna take what I can get, because I love watching my man fight. He still brings it better than 90% of the boxers out there right now. So I'll always be tuned in and dialed into a Manny fight.
Absolutely. And last one, Ward Kovalev, man. What do you think, man?
It's a tough one to call, and I've always been a Ward guy. I mean, I've been a Ward guy since before the Super Six tournament. I bet on him. I had like 10-1 odds before the tournament started to win, and I've just always been a guy that when I watch him fight, it's not one of them fights where it's the most enjoyable thing to watch, but you just watch it and you go, damn, I don't think anybody can beat this guy. And I don't think Kovalev, while he's a beast, I don't think he has the boxing chops to battle Andre Ward, and he's going to have to box him because I'm sorry, it's just not going to turn into a brawl. I hope people don't think that's what it's going to be. And I just think Ward's the sharper, shorter puncher and will steal 7 or 8 rounds, and they'll be close and it'll be controversial, but he'll win.
Yeah. I tell you, the uppercut from Kovalev will be key. If there's one punch that Andre Ward has always been susceptible to, you can go back to, he's been knocked down a couple of times by uppercuts, and even hurt in the Abraham fight. Early on in that fight, the uppercut is the only punch you ever seen that he's susceptible to. So if I'm Kovalev, I work on that, and I do not accept the clinch. I fight through that clinch, and I make it rough. And I know Ward's not afraid to go rough, but that's what I do. Here's my thing. I early on, I'm going Kovalev. I've done this in the past with myself. I see a fight, and I'm like, okay, I got Kovalev winning that fight. And that's what I did with the Hopkins thing. And I've done it with other fights. And then you start talking yourself out of it. Well, I don't think he's this, and I don't think he's going to be able to outbox him, and I think, Hopkins will slow him down. Even with Ward, and this was a much closer fight, but I got to go with my first instinct. My first instinct says I think Kovalev beats him. I actually think he might even beat him a little bit more convincingly than people think. But a lopsided 9-3 win on Ward's part would not shock me in the least. But I was like, I've tried to stop talking myself out of things. I've done it so many times in the past.
Oh, I've done the same exact thing. And look, who else dropped Ward with an uppercut was fucking Darnell Boone back in like Ward's 7th or 8th fight coming up. Darnell Boone rocked him and dropped him with an uppercut. Yeah. So you're right, man. You know what? I'll be looking for it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if Kovalev is looking for that opening, man. But let's go ahead.
Sometimes I feel like Kovalev's attack it gets a little bit too rhythmic and it gets a little bit too in and out in straight lines, and I'm just not sure that's going to work against Ward. But I think the thing people sleep on, and this is what I could talk myself into Kovalev winning, is Kovalev is sneaky athletic, man. I mean, he's not just a boxer. My dude's an athlete. Mm-hmm.
I would say a smaller version of somebody like a Tyson Fury, of course, with more power. Where Fury just looks like a big goof in there, and he's like a big oaf, and you're like, that motherfucker can't move around. And then you saw what he did against a guy like Klitschko. Like, well, yeah, he kind of outsmarted him, outboxed him, which you didn't think was going to happen. And Kovalev has some of that in him. He's fighting a more prime, but I think obviously on the back end of his prime, Ward, who hasn't been as active. I think the fact that Ward is going to fight for the first time in like 7 years, 3 times in a year, he's going to be as sharp as he possibly can be. That makes it even closer. Let's be like this. It's going to be fun to watch. No matter what happens, it should be fun to watch. Should be intriguing. Maybe not as fun as we want it to be, but it should be intriguing if nothing else.
Oh yeah, I think even if it's not a great fight, it's from start to finish you're going to be on the edge of your seat. At least a true boxing fan will be, anyways, because this is going to prove who's one of the 3 or 4 best fighters in the world. Absolutely,
man. All right, Vince, man, we're going to cut it off there, man. I mean, shit, the fact that we can get 45 minutes out of nothing is fucking amazing.
Hey, man, boxing, it's amazing when you start talking boxing. There's so much shit to talk about, even when there's no fights.
Yeah, I know. There's always something. Hey, and look, the good thing about it is our show on our side and your guys' show. Next week, we'll actually get to talk about real fucking fights. Fights that are actually going to happen in the ring.
We can preview a fight that's going to actually happen.
Yes, we can preview, and a fight that actually people would actually even care about. Instead of making fun of a Terry
Unbelievable.
You know, I'm making fun of a Wanma fight with, you know, it's like a fight that we're actually going to want to watch, man.
Yep.
Again, guys, follow Vince on Twitter at Vince Cummings 81, right? Am I got that right?
Yep. That's it.
And listen to the show, Tell the Tape. You can find it iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, everywhere, right?
Stitcher, tune in radio. Just go to @TheBoxingRant on Twitter, and then the shows will be posted there. Go to theboxingrant.com. The shows are posted there as well.
And you can follow us at Cheap Seats Box, iTunes, Stitcher. People help rate and review. Just keep on move. Just keep us where we're at least, if nothing else. Maybe one day we actually pass that fucking boxing voice shit. But until I had to throw that in there. Maybe one day we'll actually do that. But just help. Hey, all it does is keep the show more visible. And all the people who are listening for the first time, because Vince was on, we appreciate you. Come stick with us, baby. And if you guys haven't checked out Tell the Tape on our side, got to check them out. The audio quality gonna be a little bit better than what you hear here, because what you got on our side is probably the cheapest studio in the world, and what you have on their side is probably the best studio in all of boxing podcasts. There ain't no other way around it. I make fun of people in their studios because they really don't have them. These guys actually have them, and you actually can hear the difference. It actually sounds like a legit podcast, like you listen to the radio. You know, it ain't just on a dime shit that we do. Man, you guys got to check them out, man. I love Tell the Tape. I love Tell the Tape, man.
Don't kill yourself there, man.
That's all right. That don't bother me. Go ahead, check us all out, man. Keep the shows in the rotation, man. And you know, this is where the fighters fight and the fans commentate, and we do it just like you guys from the cheap seats, because we ain't buying no tickets, goddammit. Peace.
Please believe that I'll never be shamed again. Again, I'll be the next heavyweight champion.